So one of the most important things that I have found that really helps your code stay maintainable, especially if you're on a larger team or a project that has been around for many, many years, stuff just gets more and more complex. You keep adding on features, and often there's too many features in your application to even keep in your head. So this is where you want to bring in something like Cypress or Playwright so you can write some end-to-end testing over your application, which is basically a way to automate a browser to click on buttons, verify things change in your application, so that when you push a PR to GitHub, you can tell right off the bat if everything is broken based on your changes or if everything looks fine. There's been multiple times where I've made a single line of code change and it broke the entire application. So just adding some form of end-to-end testing will actually help your project out. Now, I'm going to be using Cypress in this video, but there is another end-to-end testing library that a lot of people like, and they like it a little bit more than Cypress from what I hear. It's called Playwright. And I haven't had a chance to play with Playwright yet, so let me know in the comments if you think it's a better solution. But I'm going to show you Cypress. Okay, so when you set up your Cypress project, you'll get an end-to-end directory or e2e directory, and you can create test files here. So I'm going to go ahead and just put one like dark mode. Let's just pretend like we want to test dark mode and make sure people can change from light mode to dark mode. Okay, so I'll make the file, I'll call it dark mode, and I'm going to change the description to say dark mode, and it will say verify a user can turn on and off dark mode. Pretty straightforward. So after you set up Cypress and you have a test file, you can do npx cypress open. That's going to load up what I believe is an Electron like browser over here. And you can actually start building out end-to-end testing. It also has component testing, which I have not personally done. I just do the end-to-end testing. But you can kind of choose if you want to use Chrome or Electron. There's also Edge you can, I think, set up. I'm going to go ahead and just say Chrome. And as you can tell, it kind of loads up this browser over here. And you have these two test files that you can actually run. So I'm going to go ahead and click on dark mode. And notice that it's going to load up that application here. We have that pantry tracker application. You know, I'm just going to hide my head. I know you guys like seeing my beautiful face, but I'm going to move it so that you guys can actually see what I'm talking about. So this is the test. It basically runs through and it just asserts various things. So in our case, it's just going to visit a page and it's going to verify that, well, in our case, we're not verifying anything. If I go to the code, we're not verifying anything. So the first thing I want to point out is that in Cypress, there's like an experimental runner mode where you can actually click on something to add a new test, or you can click on here to add commands to the test. I'm going to go ahead and click on add commands to test. And now what I can do is I can click on various buttons. For example, I'm going to go ahead and click on light mode here. And then I can actually right click on different things and assert that something has changed. Okay, for right now, I'll just say to be visible. And I'm going to click save commands over here. Notice that it kind of generates code and just puts it into your editor for you. So basically I can save this and I can rerun the test and you'll see it kind of click on that button and do the exact same test again. And right now it's not really working. This is an experimental feature in Cypress. So what I would recommend doing is find out in the nav bar, the header, where that dark mode toggle is happening. So I have a mode toggle here. And Cypress recommends you add data test IDs to your things. So in our case, we have a button here. I'm gonna go ahead and just say data test ID is I'm gonna say dark mode toggle. Okay. Now there's gonna be people who call me out in the comments and say, oh, you should be testing by ARIA labels and stuff. I'm just telling you the best practices that Cypress recommends, and I know a lot of other people who have done automated testing believes that adding test IDs is a better approach, but this isn't a debate about what is best. All right, let me go ahead and just replace this with data test ID of dark mode, and I'm going to go ahead and just change this to single ticks like this. And now that should click on that drop down, and then I'm also going to save this, and I'm going to go back to my test and run it and make sure that it does click it. So now you notice that the thing comes down. Now we can add test IDs to light and dark if we want to. Let's go back to that theme toggler, and I'm going to go over here and on light, I'm going to say data test ID light toggle. Probably add the same thing to dark in case we want it. Dark toggle. The thing I like about test IDs is that you know you have coverage, right? If you go through your code base and you see a data test ID on an element, you have good certainty that there's probably an end-to-end test that's verifying this. Other than that, there's no way to really know unless you read through every single test file that you have. So now let's do the same thing. I'm going to go ahead and say light toggle. I'm going to click that. Let's save this, go back and rerun the test. Notice that it does click the button. It does click light mode. Okay, so now that it changed the light mode, we want to verify something. There's different things you could verify. You could try to verify that there's a dark class that's no longer existing on the HTML. Now we're going to keep this simple. We're just going to test and verify that we have a sun icon that's displayed after we've gone to light mode. And then after you go to dark mode, we're going to display a moon. And we want to verify that the moon icon is displayed. All right, so going to moon, I'm going to say data test ID. I'll say moon icon. Do the same thing with sun. Say sun icon. Go ahead and save that. And then in our test itself, what we're going to try to do is we're going to go ahead and check that after you go to light mode, the moon icon, so moon icon should not be visible. Let's see if this works. I might have to just verify in the docs if this is the proper way to do it. Go ahead and save this, run it. And it looks like this is passing. It doesn't find the moon icon anywhere on the page. So this test is actually verifying that the icon at least changed. Now you could also do this. I could change this and copy it and say sun icon should be visible. Save that. Also notice that when I save my test file, it's actually rerunning in Cypress automatically. So within less than a second, I can come back and see that this is good. So my test is actually verifying that this icon at least is changing from dark to light. So I am going to modify this a little bit. I'm going to say verify a user can toggle between light and dark mode. Okay. So let's just go ahead and copy these two things. I'm going to go ahead and just copy this whole thing. I'm going to go ahead and click the toggle again. I'm going to go ahead and click on the dark toggle, and I'm going to make sure that the moon is visible, but the sun is not. So go ahead and save that, go back. This thing is fully running. All right, I got it working, but I ran into some snags along the way. But this is basically the gist of it, right? You write some tests that interact with your UI and assert different things along the way. And again, this is supposed to be end-to-end. So you're supposed to have a fully running application, including your database, whatever other integrations you might have, so that when you're clicking and interacting with the UI, you know with good certainty that if it works with your end-to-end tests, it's probably going to work when you deploy it. That's all I want to share with you guys. I hope you guys learned something from this. Give me a like, comment, subscribe, whatever. Have a good day and happy coding.